Hello and welcome to 99 Yards, American football for UK fans. My name is Liz and I am joined once again by Adam Smith and Duncan Terry. How are you both this week?
Hi, all good here. I've happy to be in the new season, but sad to discover that I probably don't have late night games in me anymore at a certain age, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm good. Kind of the same actually. I was very excited for this week, and then realised when I was watching the end of the Seahawks game, and I was falling asleep. Which even last season, I saw us get beaten sometimes. I still watched till the end, so I might have to look at maybe a power nap in the afternoon or something on some days.
Sounds like a plan. Now this isn't at all on purpose, but we are all Seahawks fans on the show. How is everyone feeling after Sunday's loss to Packers?
Well, I don't know if it's just me, but I seem to take a little bit longer to get over these defeats than everyone else on social media. I get very angry, and I promised myself I wouldn't. I promised myself I wouldn't tweet angrily, but sometimes it's just too hard to resist, and after that, it was quite disappointing.
Yeah, It was a strange game because I kind of thought, we may lose this. I think it would have been a very difficult game to win. But the way in which we lost it, we just didn't have even an operating offense. It was almost like we were going to the game with a player down or something like that. It just didn't seem. For once in the Seahawks game, I've seen them behind and they've come back and they've won or at least put up a fight. But in that game, I could have turned it off practically at half time and just been like, yeah, that's it. We're not going to win this game. And it's quite rare that to see the Seahawks and for it to be like that. Like there is just no. The offense just couldn't get going, and the defense was incredible as well. It's one of the best performances I've seen from Seattle, especially against Green Bay, which is always been a tough team for Seattle. But Earl Thomas was incredible. One of the best games I've seen him play. He was absolutely everywhere. So it's good to see that his broken legs healed, or seems to have. So there was some good things to come out of it defensively, but the offense was so bad. Some of the players. One of the first players I think was a screen to Doug Baldwin, and Wilson's kind of missed him a little bit, but even so, the blocking just wasn't there, and that's a player that's like a go-to Seattle player. That's I've seen Seattle start drives with that time and time again, and even that wouldn't work. Just simple plays weren't happening. He missed Graham a few times, and it's rare that I watch Seahawks and just have no hope, but I really did on Sunday, and it wasn't even a big loss either. But it was just the way in which we performed the offense was just depressing.
It really was. It was the method, wasn't it? And when the offense just came out in the first few drives, it just looks exactly the same as it has done the last few years. It's just it gets you. But that was probably the hardest game on our schedule. So yeah, fingers crossed. We'll San Francisco this week.
Yeah, absolutely right. Seahawks will be at Levi Stadium on Sunday night. How do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, I think we'll beat them comfortably, to be honest. I've been very negative about the Green Bay game, but there's a big difference between Green Bay and the Niners. We were in a big transitional phase. I think the Niners should be better than they were last season. They weren't good against Carolina the weekend, but they should be, I think. It won't take much to be better than last season. But in recent years, it's kind of been a nice game to have that, where we just beat them comfortably and get some confidence back. So I think we should do fine. It'll be interesting to see how the O-line does against them, because we should do well. It shouldn't be as much of an issue, but if it is, then we are in trouble, because if we can operate an offense against the Niners, then that is wow, I don't know where we're going to go from there. But hopefully it'll be a relatively easy game and we should get some confidence back.
Yeah, it's going to be another of those games. It's not going to be Arizona 6-all type of game, but yeah, their defense is okay, and our offense is okay. So probably a less entertaining affair, but we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I'd like to think we'll win that one. I'd be really shocked if we don't. But my fiance will be very, very happy if they do win us. So we'll see. Right, before we start talking about upcoming games for week 2, we need to talk about a couple of things. Let's start with David Johnson's injury. Now, Johnson is Cardinals' star running back, and it's said that he's going to be out for 2 to 3 months. How much of an impact do you think this is going to have on the Cardinals?
Well, this is huge. When you look at what they've got Carson Palmer, who looked a shadow of his former self on Sunday. They're struggling for wide receivers not called Larry Fitzgerald at the moment. And to lose just someone who's the star on offense, it just doesn't bode well for them at all. They've got a great defense, but they've got to score points somewhere, and I just don't see it happening. Clicking now, and it's a real shame. If you'll see, I've got an article coming out tomorrow. I spoke to Tyrann Mathieu, and he was. I asked him, about the possible retirement of Palmer and Fitzgerald, and he said that he actually said, we're going to do everything we can to help them ride off into the sunset in glory. So the indications are there that it's possibly is their last season, and Arians, he's got some health concerns. It's a real shame for a good franchise, a good fun to watch franchise. So it's going to be massive loss for him.
Yeah, I think it's enormous because I've always been sceptic since they've used Johnson, since he really last season in particular when he came on the scene and he came on the scene the season before, but last season was when he really established himself. And I don't really understand teams that rely so much on one running back. It's such a difficult position in terms of durability. I kind of think of the Steelers. They use Bell in a similar way, where he lines up as receiver a lot and he can do a lot of things in the passing game. But Bell's not their only option. They've got a very good offense with Bell aside. D'Angelo Williams came in, did really well for them, and it's almost like nothing changed. But the Cardinals, their whole game plan last season seemed to be David Johnson or Larry Fitzgerald, and they're both great players, but that's not how you have an offense working. It works last year to an extent, but they didn't get anywhere really. And I think his injury, hopefully it might mean that for them, maybe at the end of the season, they'll look at actually doing some more work on the offense, because Palmer, as you mentioned, Palmer is on his way out. I think last season was a strange one for him because the season before he was very good, a big return to form, but at the start of last season, he wasn't great, but towards the end, he actually picked up a bit of form and he was playing quite well. I think towards the end of the season, Cardinals became a much better team. I really thought, maybe if this season they could improve and push on and be at that level they were a few years ago. But that injury now, without David Johnson, their offense is Larry Fitzgerald, and that is about it. I think they've got John Brown, Jerome Brown, but neither of them are really reliable receivers. Malcolm Floyd, he went and he wasn't ever the kind of go-to guy that I think they wanted him to be. So it's a shame because, as Duncan mentioned, the defense is good, and they've always been in recent years. They've had some, besides the draw obviously last year. There's been some quite good games between the Cardinals and Seahawks, but this is going to be huge for them. I'd be very surprised if they can recover from it and actually get anywhere near the playoffs. But we'll see. Sometimes you get running backs come out of nowhere and do great. I don't think people would have predicted that David Johnson would have been that great when he first burst on the scene 2 years ago. So we can see, I guess, but it's a massive loss.
And on a more positive note, it was the first week since the 70s that 3 rookie running backs went 100 yards or more. That's pretty historic. Do you think this sets the tone for their futures? Who do you feel stands out the most?
Yeah, I think it was an interesting one. I saw that start today. I think it was yesterday. I think it's 1979 was the last time that 3 rookies in their first week got 100 yards or more. It's all 3 of them. Obviously, we had a great opening week. I think Kareem Hunt was quite a big surprise, especially against the Patriots. To do that against anybody is impressive, but to do it against the Patriots, who were going to this season, as we discussed last week, is quite clear favourites really for the Super Bowl, at least to get to the Super Bowl. And to do it against them was incredible. So I think he is definitely the one that stands out the most. But Leonard Fournette, I think, could be very. It's great news for the Jags because they've missed that kind of running back. I think they signed Chris Ivory to be that kind of guy who can, 3rd and 1, just drag it over the first down. But Chris Ivory's had injury issues, and I don't think he's a good running back, but he's never not got to the level I want him to get to. And Fournette's coming now, and to have that as your first game, he has a Houston D who just didn't look. They were baffled. I don't think they knew what hit them in that game. And it really ruined the storyline because I thought it'd be a Houston win personally. I didn't think the Jags had a chance, even despite them on paper being a good team. I just thought typically it's the Jags that every year they look like a good team and nothing works out. But that game for Fournette to play like that was incredible. It gives them something that I don't think they've had in recent years. They had like Toby Gerhardt trying to do that. That didn't work out. TJ Yeldon was okay, but he wasn't that guy. So to take pressure off Bortles, who is, let's be honest, terrible, is a big plus for them. And I think they can try, hopefully, continue that style of play where it's a lot of running, it's simple throws, check downs, and maybe get somewhere this year. I mean, I don't know for sure. None of the Jags, they could lose like every game this season after this, but it's definitely promising for them. I think Allen Robinson being going out in that game is a big loss there, so it swings and roundabouts, I guess.
Yeah, just to back up what you said about Leonard Fournette, really. I mean, they are going to ride that fella, and I mean, he only spent 2 years in college, so he's not spent like someone you might speculate like Derrick Henry. We haven't seen much of him because Alabama just maybe spent quite a lot of him in his early years. So Leonard Fournette is going to get a lot of work. They've got a strong defence, and they're going to be a running team. It could be very interesting times in Jacksonville. A couple of others we haven't even mentioned. Tarek Cohen looked great for Chicago. I really enjoyed their game right down to the last few throws. And Alvin Kamara was interesting in New Orleans. He got the majority of the plays over Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram. So yeah, lots of running back short. It's going to be good.
And finally, on news before we move on, it was reported this week that Miami Dolphins asked to have their London game back. Thankfully for us international fans, it was rejected. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's kind of hard to have an opinion, really, isn't it? They for obvious reasons, they wanted it back. They're going to be so tired that week. They've had their bye week now, and they've got to go all season. So fair play. Don't ask, don't get. But everything's put into place. It's all organised. I don't think it was ever going to happen.
Yeah, like I completely agree. I can't imagine how they actually asked the NFL about that, because it's one of the things where it's almost like, oh, can I have this $1 million car, please, for nothing? Like, it's such an outrageous demand. I mean, it's understandable considering the circumstances, but all the time and effort and marketing, everything that goes into an international series game, for that to be taken away, 2 weeks before? I mean, I don't think it would ever happen. So, I mean, I don't blame them for asking. But at the same time, it's one of the things where, unfortunately, it can't happen. I think maybe in future they might, I don't know, maybe they'll look at ways where they can make the schedule more flexible, but that's going to be something that has to be done league-wide, so it's a much bigger operation. But yeah, it's interesting. I'd love to have seen how they asked, definitely, because I can't imagine, it must have been quite bizarre to have an email saying, hi, can you cancel this big game we've got booked in England, please?
Yeah, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Right, let's talk week 2. With Thursday night football upon us, it's Bengals at Texans. Now, Bengals didn't get a single point on the board last Sunday, and Texans had a pretty poor start to their season too. They ended up 22 points down against Jaguars. How do you see the game between these two panning out this week?
Well, it's going to be interesting for Andy Dalton for one. He went up against a very strong Baltimore defense last week, up against Terrell Suggs, Brandon Williams. This week he's got J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, and Jadavion Clowney, so it gets absolutely no easier for him. Interesting for me, though, is the first start for Deshaun Watson. He's one of those quarterbacks that is interesting coming out of college and whether his skills will transfer, but I mean he's a proven winner. So I think he's a big upgrade from Tom Savage.
Yeah, I agree. It's such quite a comical fixture. Like after last week, Patriots Chiefs, which was by all accounts a really good game, but also on paper looked quite good. This one is back to normal Thursday night football. Will give you the best of the rest, I guess. Really, like it's kind of the standard mediocre Thursday night game, but at this point of the season, both teams have got a lot of work to do, which should hopefully make it a bit more interesting. I think the Bengals caught me off guard with their performance. I really thought that they'd be quite good this year. I think with AJ Green and Tyler Eifert, they've got one of the best receiver tight end combinations in the league. And when Eifert was healthy last year, their offense was really good. And the year before Dalton got injured, I think they could have potentially made it to Super Bowl. They were playing that well. And I think for a few years before then, Dalton was kind of pegged as sort of a very just the ultimate mediocre quarterback, a guy who can win games but won't necessarily win them on his own. But I've not seen him play that badly in quite a while. I thought he kind of got past that sort of point in his career. So yeah, that performance was terrible, really. And the Texans, I think they were just completely caught off guard by the Jags. Like what I saw of the game, it seemed like they were lost. They completely lost. Like everything, I don't think they expected that kind of performance from the Jags, and I don't think they could properly reshuffle and get things back in order. When Watson came on, they scored a touchdown. They seemed to get a bit of order back. Then quite quickly, it returned back to nothing going on, and they were missing throws. And Watson looked okay, but there's going to be issues there because he's a rookie, and I think he's definitely a better prospect than Tom Savage. I thought he was really good at Clemson last year. But again, it's a rookie quarterback, and the Texans, they've had so many issues with quarterbacks over the years. I mean, they've just still haven't found that guy, and I think it's going to be difficult for Watson in this year because I think if he was at a lot of other teams, they'd be more patient. But at the Texans, they've got a great defense, and they've got quite good. DeAndre Hopkins as well as an elite receiver. They've got a lot of weapons there, but they've just not had that quarterback. And I think the fan base there is getting quite restless, and I think there's pressure as well on O'Brien, even though I think he's a very good coach. So it's both teams got quite a lot to prove. So it could be sneakily good, maybe.
And then let's move forward to Sunday night. So the first Sky Sports game to kick off will be Patriots at Saints. Now each team lost their Week 1 game. Which way do you feel this one's going to go? Who's going to come out of the win?
I think it's going to be. I think the Patriots will come back and win this quite comfortably. I know a lot of people have been. I think I read something today about Tom Brady having the lowest completion percentage of any quarterback in Week 1, which would have been a great bet if somebody put it on. I don't think that's going to be a pattern. I think Brady will be back to normal. I think even in the loss, I don't think they played that badly against the Chiefs. Like, I mean, didn't play well, but I don't think it was a case of they're going to be terrible this year. I think it was they were caught off guard by the Chiefs, who played one of the best games I've seen them play, and it was Alex Smith's best performance of probably his entire career. So I think Patriots will come back to normal and they'll win quite comfortably. I think the Saints are an interesting one because their D is still so bad. I mean, Cameron Jordan's a great player, but their just secondaries, it's just not great. Teams can just slice them up, and Brady against that secondary, I wouldn't be surprised if it's quite a comprehensive win for the Patriots, to be honest.
I have to agree. I mean, Patriots are going to Patriot, and Tom Brady's going to Tom Brady. I think most interesting for me is that, just to watch them come up again against another lively-looking rookie running back, and just to see how they cope this week with any changes they might have made, because obviously on offense they're missing Julian Edelman, on defense they're missing Rob Ninkovich, which is a huge loss, and I think one perhaps that. Because he does his work fairly quietly in the background, and perhaps they weren't quite ready for that. So it'd be interesting to see what changes they make to deal with that.
And then the second game of Sky coverage on Sunday night is Cowboys at Broncos. Now both teams won their Week 1 game, so far so good. Who do you think goes on to win this game and why?
The Cowboys winning this. I think getting Elliott back gave them a bit of a boost last week. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with him coming back, but that's a different subject altogether. But I think Cowboys looks like they did last season. I think their game plan is always rely on Elliott and then try and get simple throws off for Dak. They've got a lot of pre-snap motion as well, which gets guys open. Jason Witten's is quietly been an absolute revelation of Dak Prescott. Like, he's always open, and I think the year before when they went through the conveyor belt of quarterbacks, so like Matt Castle and everyone playing at one point there, Witten seemed to just didn't seem to be in the games as much. But with Dak, they've got some good chemistry, and I think they'll just continue to play well. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys make the playoffs again. I'm not sure if their D is quite at a level where they can handle Packers another truly great offense, but I think that they'll take the Broncos, because as much as the Broncos D is still outstanding, Simeon's he's very limited. He's got a certain ceiling. I think he can do so much, but like they've got some players there, like Demaryius Thomas, who's a fantastic receiver, and he's just not used to his maximum potential there, because Simeon he only makes certain throws, and I think Simeon played quite well, but yeah, I think Cowboys will take it. It'll be an interesting game because I think you've got the Cowboys, after last season, a really successful season, really, just despite not making it past the title game, I still think that the Cowboys should come out with this, and I think they've got a lot of momentum going forward. Whereas the Broncos, they've got more questions, I think.
I think I have to go the other way. The old adage, defence wins championships. The Giants looked pretty good against Des Bryant last week, and this week he comes up against Roby, Talib, Harris, and whoever's not on him is on someone else. It's going to be a struggle for Dak Prescott. They obviously have Elliott, but got a pretty strong defensive line in Denver. We've got Derek Wolfe there. Von Miller's always hanging around. If they can keep it, stay in touch. They've shown they've got guts as they did against San Diego last weekend. So I think I'm going to go for the home team.
And then finally on Sunday's coverage on Sky, it's going to be Green Bay Packers against Atlanta Falcons. Both teams came away with the win last week. So how do you think it goes this week?
I cannot wait for this game. I think it's a shame that I'm not going to watch it live because it has all the makings of being an absolute classic. I think that the Falcons had a strange week one. I think it wasn't. I think a lot of people expected them to either maybe lose momentum on offense and play badly, or absolutely wipe out the Bears. And it was kind of in between, where like they showed flashes of how good the offense was last year, but they struggled a little bit. I mean, it wasn't enough of a struggle to really call it a crisis or anything like that at that point. Like, you could tell that a lot of the talent that was there last year was still there and still performing at a high level. It just didn't seem to be as consistent. But I think Green Bay, when they get there, they're going to push Atlanta to the limit, and I think it could be. It'll be interesting. I think if Green Bay come out of this as comprehensive winners, that this is going to be the biggest challenge for Atlanta. I think this is where you'll find out if Atlanta are going to be back to the form they were last season. And I mean, likewise with Green Bay, because as much as they beat Seattle, which is a massive win for them. Seattle were, as I say, it was like we were a few men down because of how bad our offense was. And they did struggle to score points. I mean, it was still nobody had scored at halftime in that game, which is crazy for Aaron Rodgers. And I know the Seattle D is outstanding, but I think there's still some work to do there. I think the Seattle D was tired out by the end of it, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. It should be a very offensive game. I wouldn't be surprised if this turned into a bit of a shootout, really.
Absolutely, it's a very attractive game. Aaron Rodgers definitely going to have more freedom. If you just look at what Chicago did against Atlanta last week, it's going to be they're coming up against a much stronger defense, but it's going to be good. Hooper came through for Atlanta last week. He's exciting. He's not going to have to do as much blocking as Jimmy Graham did last weekend. The Green Bay defense obviously played well, but Freeman and Coleman at running back is a completely different prospect to Eddie Lacy and Chris Carlson. So yeah, it's going to be a classic.
It'd be interesting if Hooper gets as open as he did on the throw last week as well. I've never seen somebody so wide open.
And our final point of discussion for tonight, Monday Night Football. It's Giants at Detroit. Now in week one, Giants lost to Cowboys 19-3, and Detroit had a great start to their season. They beat Cardinals 35-23. Who do you think is going to win on Monday and why?
I think this is, again, I think with Odell Beckham back, this is a different Giants team almost, because their offense really does revolve around him. Like we were saying about David Johnson, it's similar with the Giants and Beckham, because Eli, as I said on last week's podcast or the week before, he's not a good quarterback, really. I think people pretend he is because he's won 2 Super Bowls, but he's not that great. And he's helped out a lot by Beckham making ridiculous catches and drawing double coverage and making other guys open. And when Beckham wasn't there against the Cowboys, you could see that the offense just wasn't really clicking at all. Brandon Marshall struggled, and Brandon Marshall was a great receiver. I know he wasn't on great form last year at the Jets, but when he's on his day and his head's in the game, he's one of the best, really. When he came up against Seahawks, he was beating Richard Sherman, and that was when he was playing for the Jets. So, he is a very good receiver who, when we've already on the pitch as well, and Sterling Shepard's also is a promising rookie, so you've got 3 very strong receivers. I think, like I said, it'll be a different Giants team, so it will be interesting. I think Detroit, Matt Stafford absolutely amazes me. Last year, for me, he was an MVP contender. I think up until he got his injury to his thumb, he was was just unbelievable. The things he was doing and some of the drives that he was orchestrating, and it wasn't like a Aaron Rodgers style drive where it's a 30-yard throw and things like that. There's nothing really spectacular about it. It was just great pre-snap play, like getting guys open through motion and finding the right dump offs, like using guys properly as well. Like Anquan Boldin came into the Lions last year as somebody who was on the brink of retirement. I mean, he's retired now, but last year at the Lions, I think he scored like 8 or 9 touchdowns. Like, he became like an incredible red zone target just because Stafford, really, like the amount of things he was doing for that team was unbelievable. So, and he proved it again against Cardinals because they were behind. Like, he threw a pick quite early, and then again they came back into it and ended up winning it comprehensively. So it'll be interesting. I think Detroit will take this, just because I'm not an Eli Manning fan at all. I mean, the Giants D is great, but Stafford I think is a fantastic quarterback, and I think he'll be able to find ways to get through him. It's not going to be a game of massive plays, I don't think. Eli might try some deep throws to Odell, but I can imagine Matt Stafford just dunking his way to a few touchdowns. There'll be a lot of dump offs and a lot of passes to Theo Riddick, I imagine, for 5 or 10 yards. But I think the Lions will sneak it. I reckon probably it'll be tight. I can imagine it maybe being something like maybe even like 17-10. I can't imagine there being that many scores in it, but it should be a decent game.
Yeah, this is going to be another cracker. I'm picking Giants this time, just because they are a great team. They won't go away. They're resolute. They'll win one week, they'll lose the next. People will count them out, and then they'll hand out a thrashing. And of course, I'm backing my boy Evan Engram. He's going to be the next big receiving tight end. He's going to be the future first-round picks in all your fantasy drafts. I think the Giants have weapons, and Detroit just don't. They're a sturdy team. They stay in contact. They thrive on coming back at the end, and if they can stay in touch, anything could happen. But I think the Giants, they're just going to be too good for them this week. Obviously, Beckham will be back. You've got Brandon Marshall, Shepard. You mentioned all the big names. If they can get a little bit of running game going, it's going to be good for the Giants.
Before we end the show, we should probably just do a quick one on who we think will win, the rest of the games on Sunday. Who do you think wins out of Panthers and Bills?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Panthers, what I saw of them against the Knights, obviously they won. It was quite a comprehensive win, but Cam Newton did not look himself at all. Like he seemed like he had I think it was shoulder surgery in the off season, but he just didn't seem himself. So it'd be interesting because the Bills are with Sean McCoy, and they've got a great running game. I think the Bills might win that. I think the Panthers they're working things out still, and McCaffrey is becoming a big part of their offense, but he's new, and I think Cam Newton doesn't look fully healthy to me, so I'll go with the Bills.
I'm afraid I'm going to go the other way again. I'm going for the Panthers, just because the Bills this season, they've just given up 2 of their biggest players in trades. They're obviously looking for a rebuild. Last week they won. Obviously, they've got Sean McCoy still looking good, still looking like his old self, but it was the Jets. The Panthers, they're going to be strong again. They've got Luke Kuechly playing well. The offense, they're just meeting each other for the first time this year. But I'm going Panthers.
Bucks against Bears.
I think the Bucks should win this. I think the Bears looked better against the Falcons than I expected them to be. But the Bucks have loads of talent on the offense, and the D is developing as well. They turn into quite a well balanced team. So I think the Bucks should win that quite comfortably.
Yeah, Bucks again. They've looked so. They've got such talent at Tampa Bay. Mike Evans is one of the best receivers in the league for me. Top 3 probably. But main thing is who is Chicago throwing to? They lost Kevin White last week. They'd already lost Cameron Meredith. Kendall Wright can't do it by himself. Cohen and Howard are obviously going to be big parts of their offense. But they looked plucky last week. But Tampa Bay are going to be too strong.
Steelers at Vikings.
I think the Vikings for that. I think there might be a similar case to last season. The Vikings start the season with incredible form, because I think they look really impressive. I think Sam Bradford as well is quite underrated. He's a very, very steady quarterback. He reminds me of like the kind of solid fullbacks you get in football, like a Gary Neville, who just does his job. He won't do anything flashy, but he'll make the throws he needs to make. And I think they'll do quite well this season. I think Dalvin Cook looks good. And they've got. I mean, Stephon Diggs, look, he could be in a few years an elite receiver. He's got all the tools for it. I think playing under Bradford, where he's not going to get as many chances for big plays, maybe, but when he's been thrown to, he's made big plays. And Adam Thielen as well is again very very reliable. He's making catches all over the field, and whether at first I thought he'd more of just like a slot guy, but he seems to now be moving all over the offense. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's at the top of the league in catches at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a really exciting game. I wish this one was on Sky. As you say, you've got Diggs and Thielen. On the other side, you've got Bryant and Brown. There's Bell, there's Cook. There's so many stories on offense. It should be an exciting game. TJ Watt looked incredible for the Steelers, and they've got a great defense as well. That's why I'm going for the Steelers. They're just strong on both sides of the ball, as are the Vikings, but Steelers just stronger, going to nick it.
Colts at Cardinals.
I've got to say Cardinals for this. I think it'll be a bit of a bounce back game. I don't know. I'm assuming Brissett will start. I can't imagine they'll start Scott Tolzien again. I mean, if your first throw of the season's a pick six, you should probably just go back to the locker room and just end it there. I think, because that was the Colts are not with Tolzien at quarterback. They aren't going to do a thing. Brissett looked a bit better, but until Andrew Luck comes back, I mean, he's everything for that team. Their D has been below average for years. Their offense as well isn't that great. T.Y. Hilton's their main playmaker, and without Luck there, his game's limited. So I think it'll be a bounce back game for the Cardinals. I don't know how they'll win. I think there'll be probably a lot of this Larry Fitzgerald, I imagine, all the way. But I think it'll be a bounce back game. Could get some more confidence back after the Johnson injury as well.
Yeah, after talking about such a great game in the Steelers and Vikings, this game has got the potential to be absolute trash. The Cardinals have recovered. They've lost Johnson. They've lost their left tackle. DJ Humphries won't be playing. And on the other side, the Colts almost don't know who they're going to play at quarterback yet. It's just on the basis that Cardigans know who they're going to play. They're able to make a plan for the Colts, and the Colts can't score. It's got to be the Cardinals.
Ravens, Browns?
I think the Ravens for this. The Ravens, again, the offense is kind of like the Colts, not as bad, because I mean Joe Flacco's better than Scott Tolzien, but they don't have many weapons in offense. I think that they'll do enough to get by an offense. That their D looks really good this year. I think especially their run D, they're very good at stuffing the run. So I think Ravens for this.
Again, I agree. The defense is just so strong this year. I put them as my dark horse. But saying that, I'd love to see the Browns win. Like they're doing something there. They brought in the forgive me, I can't remember his name. The fella from Moneyball. They're obviously doing something special. They're accumulating so many draft picks and talented youngsters. And Kaiser looked like he could actually be the answer at quarterback. So I really hope they do something. But definitely the Ravens. They're really giving Sean Kaiser a baptism of fire with Steelers followed by Ravens. I feel for the guy, but he's going to come through, but not this week.
Chiefs, Eagles.
It'd be an interesting one, that one. I think that Eagles were... Carson Wentz had a strange game. I mean, he played... At times, his throw to Aguilar off the touchdown was unbelievable. But at times, he still makes throws where he's staring down the receiver, and you can tell he's still a rookie. I mean, it's understandable, but I don't think he's quite going to be the answer for them yet. Maybe next season he might be a bit more established, more confident. So I think the Chiefs will do it. I think they should be having a lot of confidence. They probably wish they could play sooner after beating the Patriots, to be honest, because they've been on cloud nine for days after that. And I think that I don't know if Alex Smith will have that kind of game again. I don't think we've got a new quarterback, Alex Smith, who can pass that many yards. But I think they'll win. I can imagine Kareem Hunt having quite a big game as well.
Yeah, it's a tough game to pick. The Eagles' defence just looks superb, and that defensive line is one of the best around. Fletcher Cox, and he's just going to control the line play. Kareem Hunt, you probably won't see have such a great game, but now they've got they've got the trio. They've got him. They've got Tariq Hill. They've got Travis Kelce. There's a lot of weapons now for Alex Smith on defence. I completely underrated them this year. And having seen them last week, they're so much better than I gave them credit for. But they've lost Eric Berry. But as you say, Carson Wentz maybe hot and cold. Let's hope he's hot. But yeah, I'm going to give it to the Chiefs.
Jaguars, Titans.
Oh, this is sneakily a really really good game. I think because I think there's going to be Jaguars this week. The expectations are going to be a lot higher. I think the Titans against Oakland didn't look that great. I thought Oakland kind of won that. It wasn't a comprehensive win for them, but at the same time, I don't think they really had to push too hard to beat Tennessee, which I thought was surprising, because last year Tennessee, especially towards the end of the season before Mariota's injury, were looking really good, and I had that lineup as one of my games of the week last week, and it just wasn't that great. It was okay, like it wasn't terrible, but I think both teams showed that they're not quite the finished package yet, especially defensively. So it's a tough one. I think I'll go with the Titans just because I still, with Allen Robinson out, and like I'm assuming Marquise Lee will come in for him. But I think that they can't just run it with Fournette all the time. I think the Titans D is still not great, and the Jaguars D last week was incredible. I mean, Calais Campbell, what a debut! It's unbelievable. But I think Tennessee will just have enough. So I think it could be a close game. It could be one of the games of the week, though, I think.
Yeah, it all comes down to me. I just don't trust the Jaguars yet. I'm going to have to see a little bit more consistency across the board. Blake Bortles is still Blake Bortles. They look strong. The defence has so many names on it now, and they're playing really well and good. I hope they do. I want to see some great games from them in the UK. But the Titans, they're looking good. You know, they came up against Oakland, who are a strong team last year. Well, still now, today. Mariota still look good. Got to give it to the Titans.
Raiders, Jets.
I think it has to be Raiders. I think the last year have been quite tough to call with this one. It's the Jets now. It's looking at what games they might win. I think most teams are going to beat the Jets this year. They don't look good, and there just doesn't seem to be any. Not only do they not look good, I mean, the team just doesn't seem that bothered. I mean, like even last year, the Browns at times when they won the game against the Chargers, the Browns it was euphoric. You could tell they really wanted that win. I can't imagine the Jets having that kind of reaction if they won the last game of the season. That whole franchise in a minute is just, it's like it's important to stand by. So I think the Raiders will win this quite comfortably.
Yep, Raiders again. At a canter, they could play their reserves and probably still win. The Jets just aren't at the races. It's a shame for the fans, great fan base, but Raiders equally so. And they're going to win very easily.
Chargers, Dolphins.
Oh, again, that's quite a... I think I go Dolphins to that one, actually. Last season, Dolphins I think they made a lot of progress last year, and they were, like Tannehill is obviously out this year, but he made progress last year. The whole JJ broke out as well. So I think they've got that run game. It'd be interesting to see how Cutler plays, because a lot of people when he was brought in a lot of Dolphins fans seemed very happy about it. It was like, oh, it's a great replacement. He's going to do really well. He's just as good as Tannehill. I'm not too sure. I've seen Jay Cutler a lot, and he's not like he's steady again, but he's at the same time he's prone to throwing picks at pivotal situations. He's quite reckless, and he seems to have found his new Alshon Jeffrey and Devontae Parker, which could mean more picks, because at Chicago he would always force the ball to Jeffrey, even when a throw definitely wasn't on. So yeah, I think Dolphins. I think they're a good team. They've got a relatively solid D as well. I think it'd be quite, especially after the last week of the bye week nonsense and kind of not knowing where they stood for half the week. A win there would help them a lot.
I think I'm going to go for the Chargers here, and they're going to be hurting after last week. They came so close at the end. They're going to want to prove something to a few people. The Dolphins, it's their first game. Will they be rusty? How rusty will Cutler be? I'd suggest a fair amount. He was ready to put his feet up. The Chargers have so many weapons. They've got Hunter Henry, who barely did anything last week. You got Allen's back. Benjamin scored this fantastic touchdown. It's going to be the Chargers. They got Joey Bosa still on form, and the defense, Melvin Ingram. It's going to be close, but the Chargers.
And then last but not least, Rams at Redskins.
This is a Rams as well, were a team that surprised me last week. I think if I had not seen the Rams play last week and not seen the result, this would have been Washington all the way. But the Rams look good. I mean, obviously they were against the Colts, so I imagine most teams would look good against the Colts. But it's a kind of game last year that they maybe would have won on field goals. I think the offense, it looks rejuvenated. So I think I'll go Rams. Like I said, again, like as Duncan mentioned, the Jags, they certainly aren't proven yet, and they were very poor last year, but they seem to have a little something going on there. I think if they can get Todd Gurley running more, he didn't look great last week. I think it was more the passing game that won the game last week. But they get Todd Gurley running more and just make some more safe passes for Goff. I think they'll win.
Yeah, the Rams are back. They're playing at home again. Possibly more than 20 people will turn up this week because they're back. Get excited, Los Angeles. Jared Goff actually looks like a quarterback now. Todd Gurley, again, another one of my great loves from his college game. He's going to be great again, honestly. Cooper Kupp and Sammy Watkins as well. Great weapons for Jared Goff. They've got their new coach, the quarterback whisperer. You know, they're doing really, really well. And the Washington Redskins, I mean, who are they now? They lost their general manager midway through the off-season. One of their very talented young players, Cyril Cravens, he's had to retire right before the start of the season. They're a team that probably aren't quite sure of their identity at the moment. Kirk Cousins, will he stay? I think they're going to struggle this year. It's going to be the Rams. They're going to go 2-0 and be at the top of the NFC West.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's all from Adam, Duncan and I. Thanks, guys, for joining me. And those listening to our show, thanks for tuning in.